Street talk time. We've got some street talk to you about the street, haven't we?
Yes, we did. I can't believe that it's me that says street talk time.
Well, you're so tired.
I am very tired today, Gemma. Can you tell us what story? I haven't even come up with any storyline titles this week.
We've got Tim's Tricky Ticker, which is the first story about how Tim is still not dead.
No, I think he's going to be okay now, Gemma. I'm sorry to break this to you.
Browns in the Red, to do with Chesney, etc. We've got The Lion and the Cougar, which is Leo and Jenny.
Yeah.
Starsky and Crutch, which is still limping along.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
And finally, we just got Daniel.
Daniel going on with whatever he's doing.
Let me tell you what happened to Tim this week. On Monday, Kevin comes in to visit Tim in hospital, and he's all maudlin because his marriage is over.
Oh, yeah. It ended last week with Sally saying, "Oh, how could you, Tim? I'll never trust you again."
Yep. He asked Kevin to go and find Sally and tell her that he loves her. Then the nurse comes in because he's got to go down for his op. So she wants to shave his chest. And Kevin's like, nope, I'm leaving. So
right out of that.
Sally's calmed down a little bit. So she turns up at the hospital. She's still a bit snippy. And then Elaine blusters in, fretting. Oh, why didn't you tell me? I didn't know, blah, 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 blah,
That's
blah.
right, Elaine's back.
Elaine,
the character
mum.
that just keeps on returning. Like a persistent boomerang.
Persistent boomerang, isn't that sort of like their job description?
Like a really, really well-made boomerang.
Isn't that saying, oh, what a beefy cow?
Right. I keep thinking she's left and then back she is again.
Sally's alone with Tim later, trying to get him to see how his secrecy has made her feel so sad. They're about to open up to each other when Faye turns up. And then we get this funny bit where the police officer comes to see Sally later.
Yeah, they're knocking at her door, aren't they? I'd forgotten about that until literally just seeing it in the notes there. But yeah, so the police go to her door, don't they? I can't remember. And somebody says, oh, she's out at the moment. She's probably at the hospital.
Elaine is then her turn to see Tim. And she says, how come you are not probably talking to Sally? And he says, well, I'm really scared. I didn't want to admit it to myself, let alone talk to her about it.
All the angst.
Kevin finds Sally in the waiting room later and tries to persuade her to go and talk to Tim before he has his operation, and reminds her that she didn't tell him about her breast cancer straight away. So this is when they were married, Kevin and Sally, and she had breast cancer and she didn't tell him because he was having an affair with Molly or something. She
waited until right at the very worst moment, didn't she? Because he was about to split up
that
with
was the best moment, really.
Yeah, he was about to say, I'm leaving you for Molly, and she's like, wait. Let me tell you first. I got breast cancer.
Well, he's still harbouring a grudge, obviously, about that, isn't he? Because he
clearly
could have, left her ages ago. I like the fact that he was saying to her about this, and he didn't bring up any of the stuff about, if somebody said to me about, oh, you never told me you had cancer, I don't think I'd say, yeah, you're right. I'd say, hang on a minute. Yeah, why? What was that? What happened then, Kevin? Should we just remind ourselves? How's your son? Anyway, there's been a cancellation and it's time for Tim to go under the knife. And the porter comes to try and chiv him along, but he wants to see Sally before he goes. He's already gone by the time Sally turns up to make amends. And the nurse says he's going to be about 6 hours. And then she looks at Sally and she's like, oh, do I know you? And Sally's like, oh, you probably do because I used to be the mayor. And then the nurse says, oh, if you get caught short, there are toilet facilities. And smirks. And everyone's going, oh, what's that about? How did she find out about her weeing?
Well, yeah, as the episode went on Monday, it kind of gradually dawns on the viewer what's going on, isn't it? Because I think at this stage it's like, what is she talking about? And they build up the mystery throughout the episode, don't they?
I don't think it was very mysterious.
They tried their best, bless them.
Tim gets his anaesthetic and the camera goes all blurry because he's fallen asleep, and then he wakes up a bit later and he sees a mysterious dream of Sally trying to kick a door down with a police officer trying to pull her away, and it's just outside the room, and then he kind of falls back asleep. And then the second episode we follow him being wheeled back to his room. He is asking the porter what happened to Sally, but he doesn't know. And then he gets driven past a vending machine which is broken, and this is what he remembered Sally kicking earlier, so she's obviously really hungry or something. Later on, we get a clue from Craig. He's talking to Faye and Emma about Sally being in the paper. It's all getting a bit mysterious. Tim's back in the ward, a bit woozy, tells Elaine about his dream, and Elaine's being very evasive. And then Faye turns up, and she's also being evasive. Then they go off to the waiting room together, talk about the fact that Sally's been arrested, and they're going to keep her overnight if they feel like it, and they don't want to tell Tim yet because they don't think he's up to it, but as soon as he is, they will.
And they're still not made it, completely clear at the moment what it is Sally's been arrested for, have they?
No.
Because it could well have been at this point that she tries to break into the operating theatre to try and say goodbye to Tim before he gets anaesthetised or something, but no, it was something else. It could, but it wasn't.
Meanwhile, Kevin is in with Tim, and he's hearing about Tim's dream. And then Tim asks the porter for the paper, and the paper gets passed to him. Kevin snatches it away so he can't read it. The penny starts to drop here with Tim. He realises something is wrong, and then Kevin admits that Sally has been arrested, shows him the front page of the Weatherfield, whatever it is, and it's a picture of Sally squatting in Victoria Gardens with New Year's We as the headline. Michael, why didn't you think of that?
Oh, I know. Like, I'm going to hire them. Can we use some of our Patreon money to do it to whoever came up with that amazing pun? Can I even call it that? Yeah.
Well, so
although not that I've got any for any news stories this week. Let's just remind everybody
of this ridiculous storyline that on New Year's Eve, Sally Metcalf, despite the fact it was actually closer to her house to go home from the Rovers, she decided to do a wee in Victoria Gardens. Doesn't make sense.
No,
I'm
just flabbergasted by this
storylines of the year.
Ridiculousness of it.
Honestly,
wait,
ridiculous.
Joan. Bobbins next year, I tell you.
Apparently, it is a public order offence, and the police have come to get her, but she refused to leave Tim, and she kicked the vending machine, so she got arrested. Now, surely that's worse than weeing. Don't men do this all the time? Don't men wee everywhere all the time? I think it's horrible.
We don't all do that.
Well, I think anyone who wees outside, especially if they're like round the corner from their house, I think arresting's do good for them. I think they should all be lined up and shot. Anyway, Tim is fretting about Sally later. Nobody can find anything about how she is, but then she turns up. She's fine. They get left alone. They have a nice makeup scene, and Tim thinks it's quite funny. And he explains what he didn't tell her about his operation, and they, bond over the fact that he also needs a wee, and so he does it in a jug.
That's the end of the episode, isn't it? And I think viewers just going,
is this the couple that weaves together stays together?
What on earth was that?
I mean, I kind of thought it was a little bit funny in a very dark way. Anyone who's been through hospital things knows that your dignity is stripped from you fairly quickly as soon as you put your backless gown on. Suddenly you have to check your humanity at the door because they don't care. So that was, it's kind of nice to have a little bit of realism about what it's actually
other people were saying, where's the catheter?
He should have had a catheter. I don't think that you come around after having a triple heart bypass, 6 hours later, you're like, right, I'm just going to have some jelly and go home.
Well, at least to be fair to them, he's not got home yet, has he? What I was most confused about was just the fact that he came around at all in order to see Sally being arrested. Also, I think that needs a bit better training.
Right, so, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on in the UK at the moment, politically, about the police and investigating crimes and what's important to investigate, what isn't. Do they investigate crimes that already happened, or do you have to see it happening for them to care, which is what they tried to say, all to do with this stupid Boris Johnson parties and lockdown and stuff. I know it's not the same thing as lockdown and breaking COVID regulations, but I guess there is a bit of human waste in a public gardens is probably not good during a pandemic, is it?
No.
But would they really go to a hospital to arrest a woman? And also, why did she start kicking a vending machine? The whole thing is honestly utterly stupid.
It's the least Sally-ish thing ever. I mean, we were saying the other day,
I don't think the police would do this. I don't think they care.
Let's get to the end of this, and then we can just tear it apart.
On Wednesday, Sally wears a disguise to go to see Tim because she's on the front page of the
hat and dark glasses, hasn't she?
And everybody's out to get her blood. And a counsellor friend phones her, and it sounds like bad news, but we get to see Sally and Faye at the hospital, and Sally admits that Beaver's Nook, the exclusive development that's going to be built on the blood of dead children or something, dead ground up asthmatic children. The don't want her endorsement anymore because she weed everywhere.
She got her beaver out.
Yeah.
Victoria Gardens. That should
Check out this beaver's nook. It's got a creek. Anyway, the Gazette also does not want anything to do with her campaign, and she's thinking of stepping down from the election, to be perfectly frank. And Faye says, I wonder who did that. Somebody from the opposition must have taken the photo. And immediately Sally thinks she knows who it is. So she confronts Maria about it and accuses her. And they kind of have little snarky comments to each other. And she says, I knew you were cheap, but I didn't think you'd sink that low. Maria denies having anything to do with it. Sally says it's on. I'm going to dig up some dirt on you, Maria. Then Sally goes back to see Tim. She tells him what a massive liar Maria is. She says that she's told the police about Maria's massive gas guzzling car, which she's got a picture of Maria beaming out of this,
which she doesn't have anymore. It's a historical photograph, isn't it? But Sally doesn't care.
Sally's like, well, she didn't delete it off her Instagram, so I'm going to use it. I don't care.
Is that generally what you? I suppose if you don't want to, besmirch your image, but generally, if people sell their cars, they don't delete all traces of it. You're dead to me now.
Sally comes into the room, Maria comes in the room, has a go at her, and Tim is looking stressed out. Don't forget, he's just had a heart operation, and now all this stress is following him around.
He's not doing a brilliant job of acting like he's just had major surgery, is he?
Well, he's wincing.
They even had to have Elaine go, oh, he's looking so pale, and I was watching, is he? Is he though?
It looks like he's trying to do a crossword. They go out to see Tim after they've had their snarking, and Elaine... Tim says, I've got a wonky heart rhythm or something.
He says,
but that's normal.
I've written summit in the notes, Gemma.
That's normal after a heart operation. Sally feels really guilty. She says, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll focus on Tim now. I'll give up my political career. And yet again, Timothy Metcalf has ruined Sally's political aspirations and is nothing but proud of himself. But Sally, let's be honest, didn't cover herself in glory this time around. She wasn't really... running for with the best of intentions, was she? It was more just wanting to beat Maria. On Friday, Sally visits Tim at hospital again. It's his 50th, if you didn't know. You should have heard from the quiz earlier. He's still pretty weak. Faye's coming later too, because she's got her hearing and everyone's worried about that. Elaine says, I will move in with you to help you. Tim is like, brilliant. Sally does not like the idea because all the way through the whole episode, Elaine and Sally are sniping at each other about, oh, he doesn't like jelly, or yes, he does. Oh, this party was crap.
Isn't this just Elaine moving in with Yasmin and Kathy a year ago again? When's Elaine going to get the hint? Nobody likes her moving in with them.
Wait till you see what happens when a mouse gets thrown into the mix. Like, quite amusing.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
there we go. So that was honestly the stuff to do with Sally. I found to be offensively bad.
It was bad enough when it was just like, that's a weird scene to have in a New Year's Eve episode. Why would Sally do that? Do they think it's funny? Oh well, let's move on from this now. But now it's actually turned into a plot point in, the thing that stops her political aspirations, like you said. But it's just so stupid that it's Sally. If you were to line up all the characters on Coronation Street and say, which one do you think is most likely to have a wee in Victoria Gardens, I don't think that Sally would be up there, would she?
First of all, you'd narrow it down by the ones that don't actually live on the street.
Yes, very true.
But isn't this not just the sudden returning to type, Michael? Let's not forget she was very rough when she was
probably, yeah.
She's probably, when she was a nice plastic white boot wearing young woman of Weatherfield, she probably weed all over the place.
Yeah.
It's probably the scent is wearing off.
She's probably weed in that puddle that Kevin drove through. That's why she was so mad at him splashing
there. Yeah.
She was tromping after him in her urine-soaked boots.
No, this was just ridiculous from beginning to end. Like, why did she do it in the first place? Both from a character and logical perspective, made no sense. Also, why would this be on the front page of the paper? Also,
why would it be on the paper a month later?
Yeah, why is it on the paper a month later? And who took the photo?
No, because we found out that it was the counsellor with the car, wasn't it? Maybe I've written those notes somewhere else. I don't know.
The counsellor who got mad about them complaining at him for parking on their street.
He was the one that found the picture on.
He found it on
internet.
Social media somewhere. Yeah. So who took the photo?
I don't know.
I
I really don't care, but I kind of want to know just to get some
them
closure.
to not even have who took the photo in the first place.
And they put it on the social media. Why? But it didn't get found out then. So whoever put it on social media obviously wasn't getting at Sally. They just said, "Oh, look, there's a woman having a wee in the public garden over there." Then the counsellor finds it somehow, just by chance maybe, leaks it to the press.
Yeah, how do you find it a month later?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not even like hashtag Sally Metcalf wheeze in the garden.
No.
Anyway, what a load of stupidness.
It's very stupid.
Also, why would you arrest somebody?
Yeah.
We've had enough information about that.
I didn't like how Sally then, because this was a soapy, stupid thing to do, to have her immediately thinking, it must be Maria, so I'm going to go and have a go at her.
Well, I would assume
people
it was
are all... Yeah, maybe, but the thing is, they have this happen too often in soap. Somebody makes the wrong assumption about someone, then goes and makes an arse out of themselves by publicly accusing them, and it clearly wasn't there. Maria's not leading a smear campaign against her. Maybe it wasn't a number one. Maybe it was a number two, and there was a smear. Maybe that's
no.
Honestly, she's just trying to fertilise the plants in the community garden, says Sally. Stupid thing. I just
really
know.
Annoying. Don't like the I don't like Sally.
They're just making her out to be stupid.
I think my problem about this, right, is that Coronation Street likes to pride itself on its history of strong women and role models, and focusing on women's issues back when nobody cared about making women main character of anything. But their track record currently with middle-aged women is to make them laughing stocks.
Yeah, absolutely right.
It would be really nice if we had a character who was seriously going into local politics, because actually more people should be interested in local politics, because if we cared about that, imagine what we could achieve, And instead Sally's just a stupid, meddling, middle-aged idiot. And the same with Gail.
They're Gailifying her, aren't they? And then Deirdre was going that way as well.
But if you think about back in the old, there were some really strong role models with local politics, and they weren't butts of jokes. And is it a coincidence that those characters were all men? I'm finding it slightly misogynistic.
What? Who was the politician?
I'm thinking about like Len and what's his face, Alfie.
Well, no, but we did have Annie going in for mayor, wasn't she?
Yeah, Annie Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was
Deirdre, she was a councillor.
Okay, can I tell you that Annie Walker was also a bit of a figure of fun, because it's like, oh, who she thinks she is? She's pompous. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like when a woman does something, isn't it funny that she's got ideas above her station? When a man does it, it's just like, oh, let's do a story about what it's like to be a mayor.
I don't know.
Can you see what I'm saying? Well, I'll tell you that's what I'm saying.
It's a real shame what they're doing with Sally at the moment. She is a funny character. I mean, the thing is, when they had her running for politics before, it was a bit of a joke story, wasn't it? And having her have this the campaign video and everything online, and the fact that she was so blind to what her potential constituents would want and everything, it was funny. But having her dress up in, they might as well have given her just a false moustache and a pair of Groucho Marx glasses or something when they had to dress in incognito going to the hospital the other day. And then it was like last week when she jumps out from behind the plant at Tim and everything. It's just a bit sad. She
just turned into an idiot, and it kind of annoys me, because out of her and Tim, he's the idiot, but he's somehow scraping by, and she's the one that's the butt of the joke.
What did you think about the fact that the cliffhanger last week, where she was like, "Oh, Tim, I'll never forgive you," was resolved so quickly? Were you surprised at that? Were you happy? Do you think that Tim should have been sweating a little bit more? Because as much as I thought it was silly, I did feel it was quite nice that they had them bonding again at the end of the Monday episode over the bottle of wee.
They could have done that without the in-between crap, but then what would they have filled the time with? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, there was the mystery of the arrest, wasn't there? Which I thought was a good attempt at building tension about what's going on, with a dream, and then the people are talking about the paper. Unfortunately, it was a bit too obvious about what had happened. But
unfortunately, it was also couldn't be more out of character for her if they tried.
The whole thing with her kicking at the vending machine, resisting arrest.
Why would she be doing that?
Well, the thing is, why would she be doing that? Well, maybe she desperately wants to see Tim. But like you said earlier, I don't believe that a police officer would, if your husband is having a triple heart bypass, I think it was so insanely insensitive of the police to pull this woman away from the hospital.
And go, no, you've got to answer for your crimes.
You weed in the garden a month ago.
A month ago, even.
Yeah, you get to that station right now.
Explain yourself.
We got and the police are very busy at the moment. We know, which is why Craig gets in trouble for his crutch shenanigans later on.
They're probably like, Craig, we cannot afford the lab time for you to be looking at fingerprints on this crutch. We've got to analyse the DNA of this patch of wee.
Yeah, they probably haven't. No, they probably got a test tube of it back at the station.
It's either a puddle or
doing
a
litmus
urine.
test
We need
on
to
it.
know.
Honestly,
The Gazette wants us to tell them what's happened. This is important investigative work.
Yeah.
And then Craig starts going, now, I remember I saw Sally at approximately 10:30 p.m. and at that point she'd had 3 white wines, a bottle of cider and an orange juice. Can you remember what approximately the capacity of the puddle was? Because I can work out from then approximately what time of the night it was, and then go backwards and see whether that's the amount of liquid that would have been in her bladder. If you let me know what's the average capacity of a woman's bladder of that age, actually, we can do some tests on her. We can feed her up with some water and see how much she can take before she weighs.
Yeah, we got her in custody for 24 hours. We can do a will height with her.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Let's get investigating.
So, are we just going to take it that Maria's going to just storm through to victory in the election now?
I think she's. Can we just say she's boring and she wins and we never talk of it again?
Oh, but my predictions about Spider coming back and Toya and everything, it's gone.
Well, it's a shame that you didn't predict that in the writers' room, isn't it?
It's a shame I didn't predict.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not in a good mood with this storyline. I think it was rather stupid.
Yeah, it feels like it's maybe it can take a break now. I mean, I don't know.
No,
I don't know how long Tim's going to be in hospital, but there's no point predicting.
No, they said he was coming home today.
Oh, did they say that?
Or tomorrow or something. He's going to be home next week,
yeah.
And he's going to be there. And Elaine and Sally are going to have the whole mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, snipety snipe. And then Tim's going to be there, actually the source of all the problems, acting like butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. And the joke's again going to be a misogynistic take on how women can't get on with each other because we're all a bunch of raging bitches. And look at how cool and laid back Tim is when he's peeing in a jug again, unable to wipe his own arse.
He probably will. He probably got to get used to it at hospital. He probably got a taste for it, didn't he?
He'd probably just start weeing and hope that somebody comes and.
He doesn't have to get up off the sofa when he needs the loo in the middle of the football now.
Brilliant.
Sally, can you bring me over the jug, please? Oh dear. Anyway, so that wasn't a great story. How about the Chesney and Gemma and Bernie stuff? Browns in the red.
Shall we just remind everybody that we do actually like this programme?
We do. It's great. Coronation Street is awesome all the time. So Dev and Bernie, they've had a nice night together. They're going out and everything. And Dev wonders on Monday, is it time that we make our relationship official now? Where's the best place to go to make family announcements? Bistro? No. Speed dial. So Bernie invites the whole family around. Paul's not particularly keen because he's quite enjoying having time off of any stories at the moment. Though when Bernie tells him about her and Dev are going to be official, he's like, oh yeah, fine. I'm dead pleased for you. Sounds good, Mum. Meanwhile, we have got Fizz seeing Hope's sweets fall out of her bag. Those ones that she bought with her reward money from, not reward money, her hush money from Clint. And Hope says the same story about them being from Tyrone. And later, Bernie tells Hope, you need to be careful with these sweets. I know where you got the money from them. And the best thing that you could do is to stay away from Joseph and keep quiet unless you want this to risk this all coming out. So Bernie thinks that she can... she have to have Hope round her little finger, doesn't she? She reckons that she can stop her doing whatever she wants and blab into the whole world. But unfortunately, Hope is a criminal mastermind.
Exactly. Quite a few times also in the storyline, people take the kids to one side and go, look, I know you got a secret, so tell me what the secret is, very important. And then they say, thank you for telling me the secret. Right, now don't tell anybody, but blah, 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 blah.
So we have the speed dial scene later with the Winter Allahan clan. They make the announcement. Gemma's quite surprised about it, but Ardy kind of already knew anyway. Everyone's cool with it, so Hooray, wasn't that a lovely announcement? Later on, people have all sodded off. It's like Christmas all over again, wasn't it? But this time it's with Devon, Bernie and Ardy, the only ones left over at the end. Bernie tells Ardy that Joseph's having a bit of a hard time lately, so maybe you could let him come over later and play on his games console.
No.
That's not a reward, really, is it? We've all seen Ardy's games console from when Sharon broke in there last year, and it's not got the best exclusives.
It does.
I think Microsoft has bought up all the developers on Ardy's console, and it's just left with the real, all terrible studios.
It's got Rockin' All Round the Galaxy.
What is it called? Well, this is what comes out on Wednesday, doesn't it? Because Ardy brings his console round to number 5 later. Joseph's having a lovely old time, and
well, Joseph loves the game, doesn't he? On Monday, and says, "Can I buy a game?" And she says, "No, I'll see what I can sort out."
Yeah, and so she comes back with this game, and what was it called? I wrote it down earlier. It's all around the Milky Way. That sounds like an edutainment title, doesn't it?
It sounds like you need to take 500 milligrams of silver iron to the outer edge of.
It was not a very excitingly drawn box art or anything, I have to say. I'm sorry for whoever was doing that.
Which one of these elements represents silver? Click. Oh, you got it wrong. An asteroid. Hit your spaceship.
It did seem like that kind of game. It was like it was low effort, but just as all of Ardy's games were last year. Poor Ardy. If Joseph got a chance to play on an Xbox, I think it would blow his mind.
He'd be there on his headphones telling everybody that he's going to shag their mums.
Yeah, exactly.
He's so sweet and innocent, don't spoil him.
Anyway, so Joseph's got this new game from Bernie, which is basically an attempt to get him to shut up. Well, that didn't work out. But he probably plays the game. He's like, this is rubbish, I'm going to blab my secret.
All around the Milky Way? I wanted all the way around the Milky Way too. That's the one that's out now.
Joseph tells Hope about this game, who immediately blabs to Evelyn about it because she's jealous that he's got this game. Sweet. And she's just got a load of sweets that have fallen over the floor, probably also covered in traces of Sally's wee. She says,
can't sell those now.
So Evelyn takes the game and says, right, I'm giving this to Chesney, see what he thinks. I thought it was going to turn out to be some 15 rated game, and the old liberal Bernie wouldn't have cared about giving it to him. But no,
I like this because I think that Evelyn did the right thing, because she says to Chesney, where'd he get this from? And apart from worrying whether he stole it, she also says, is he being groomed by somebody? Is an adult giving him these things? Which is a very good point, because he disappeared for a day. Yes. And now he's reappeared and he's keeping secrets, and he's got
mysterious gifts. That's a sign to look out for. So they ask Bernie, and she obviously lies about this because she's trying to keep quiet that she's got a load of money from Clint. And she says, oh yeah, Joseph said he found it. And Evelyn says, hang on a minute, he said that he's borrowed it from a friend. And Evelyn can tell. Evelyn is the only person on the streets, I think, sometimes that actually can recognise when somebody's lying, because she knew about Hope as well, didn't she?
She's got everyone's number.
She totally has. She says, look, you're not being honest, Bernie. Where'd he get it from? And Bernie has to admit that she was the one that bought it. And Chesney is livid about this. She's like, this isn't what you should be spending your money on. Dev gave you a raise. You should be spending it on, spaghetti hoops and turkey twizzlers, our favourite food. And Evelyn's like, hang on a minute, Bernie's got a raise. I work at that shop too. Well, I don't get a raise, and what do you get it for anyway? Sleeping with Dev? I don't think there's an industrial tribunal. Blah, 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 blah. So she's kind of ends up. The next thing we see with Evelyn is her coming into work late. She's like, I don't care. In fact, I've just been. I couldn't. She hasn't talked to a reporter, has she?
No, she went to Dev and she said, I'm going to go to.
She says, I'm going to go to tell everybody about
your dodgy dealings unless I get something in return.
Yeah, but she's able to back down after getting a afternoon off work, so she's easily bought, really, isn't she, Evelyn?
I tell you what I found annoying here is Chesney telling a grown woman who's older than him, aka Bernie, what she's allowed to spend her money on and what she isn't. It's one thing saying, don't give my son a computer game without asking me first. That I can understand. I'm not saying you got better things to spend your money on. my other children. Let's not forget that Bernie doesn't need to live with them and help them with their childcare and sink every penny that she owns
Very true.
into helping them. She's got a job now, and I'm pretty sure that if she wanted to, she could live with someone else.
But apart from that, were you pretty cool with Chesney this week?
I thought it was actually quite cool, yeah.
No, lies. Awful.
He's really laid back,
Chesney.
I think.
Awful. So Evelyn gets the afternoon off work, which is lovely. So she goes back home, and Fizz is up. Evelyn. She goes back home to number 9, and Fizz is there, is confused because she's been up to the attic, and she's like, "There's a load of crisps and cans and that up there. What's going on?"
The wheels are turning in Fizz's head, but they're not connected to anything, are they?
They're not.
She's like, "Oh, I can't believe there's all this mess in the attic," and the estate agent didn't say anything.
Yeah, and she's like, "Hope, you been up in the attic?" And Hope says, "It wasn't me, it was Ruby." And Fizz is like, "No way." I can't remember what she says, but it's like, you think that there's a point in the week where somebody says you didn't realise that there was a kid living up in your attic, and it's like, that is a bit silly, really, isn't it?
She accuses
people going up and down the attic all week and nobody noticed.
She accuses Evelyn of doing it as well, and Evelyn's like, unless I got bionic hips, it wasn't me. So if Evelyn can't do it, how can Hope?
Exactly.
Because let's be honest, it's not a massive house. That landing is not going to be big enough to put a ladder down without anybody, inconspicuously. I don't think there's any house I've ever been in where you can pull a loft ladder down and it doesn't immediately inconvenience every single person who wants to get down the hallway, right? And also, it's not quiet, is it?
No, they all go because they're the slidey ones, the metal grating against metal.
Or the ones that fold out, even those make noise.
Yeah. So I
want to know where she's buying this loft ladder from so we can get one. This silent, invisible loft ladder.
Maybe they've just got like a rope like you get in PE.
Yeah, maybe he's just going in and out of the dormer window, whatever it is. Yeah, what is it called?
Yeah, the Velix at the top. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, so that's all going on. I'm lost where we are now. Right, so Dev. So Fizz does not buy this story, and Hope eventually starts to cave. So Dev finds Bernie later, and she's annoyed about.
No, he is.
He's annoyed about her telling Evelyn about this pay rise, and
which she hasn't given.
Now I'm about to give Evelyn the afternoon off. Bernie says, "Look, she tries to hide the truth from Dev because she's feeling guilty. He thinks one thing about her, but she still feels guilty about the other thing." And Paul's overhearing this, and when Dev leaves, he says, "There's thing that you're not telling us, Mum. What's going on? You're broke.
How come you've got this money?
How come you bought this game? You couldn't have afforded it." So Bernie has to come clean to Paul, and he's like, "I cannot believe what I'm hearing here. If this comes out, it's going to look like Chesney and Gemma are in on it too.
Gemma and Chesney.
Chesney and Gemma are in on it too, and you're getting you got them. I've all this.
Well, it's going to be bad, isn't it?
It
looks like you're a bunch of scam artists trying to get money out of people.
Yes, exactly. That is what
and she's like,
everybody will think. So,
well, that's why we don't tell them, isn't it, Paul?
Fizz marches Hope out of the house and tells Bernie and Dev that she's been talking, and she says, "Right, Hope, you tell us what you've done. Tell me is going on." And at this point, we think, okay, so it's all going to come out now. And Hope's she's got her own agenda on this, isn't she? She says, "Oh, Bernie made us hide in the loft and gave us money not to say anything."
You sneak. Love it.
That was so good. So Deb immediately calls her out on this, but Fizz believes Hope, as does Evelyn. And Bernie says, "Look, I had nothing to do about Joseph's disappearance." So she is involved in it some way, and she's trying to cover something up. But there's this little curveball that she's now accused of harbouring children in people's attics.
She keeps sort of going, "I didn't know or have anything to do with it at the time."
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, but also, I want people to stop and think about what they're actually saying. Like, the logic here doesn't follow, does it? Because they're accusing Bernie of hiding a child in someone else's attic.
Yeah. Never mind.
I think she could come up with something a bit better.
Yeah, so they're having this long drawn out confrontation there on the street.
Sorry, Abby's just wants somewhere to go.
Abby's
That's what all the noise
crawling
is.
all over us at the moment. Okay, so Bernie's saying, "I had nothing to do with Joseph's disappearance. They don't believe her." She says she just did all this for the reward, and Fizz is like, "Right, I'm going to call the police." Dev's like, "I think that's a good idea, actually, and we will clear Bernie's name by doing this." So Bernie is forced at this point to admit the truth. Hope looks very guilty about being caught out. And then when Dev...
Well, yeah, the truth is, she knew after.
She knew after.
And she took half of Clint's money because he's the one who came up with the whole idea, but she just took the money to not tell the police.
Yes, exactly. And Dev is like, you are a disgrace.
I'm
disgusted with you.
He mentions again that he gave £3,000.
How could you do this?
And somebody else also mentions later on in the week, I gave money to that fund. It was Beth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I gave money to that fund. It's like, did you, Beth? How much did you give? Because actually, Bernie gave back 16 grand, right, which was half.
Yeah.
And Yasmin put in 29,000.
Dev gave 3.
Dev gave 3.
Keeps on saying that.
Yeah, exactly. So that goes to 32, doesn't it?
Mm.
Right. So how much did you give, Beth?
A couple of quid. I like how they brought Beth back just for this one scene. It's like we need an irate, narked off neighbour who's really good at that.
Really
Beth.
unsympathetic. He's really judgmental cow.
Yeah, Beth. Perfect.
Who can we put in 3 different leopard prints in one outfit?
Anyway, Bernie says, look, I did all this for Chesney and Gemma. They're skint and every day is a struggle for them. And you kind of see where she's coming from a little bit, can't you?
I completely see where she's coming from.
But she was dodgy, wasn't she? She did dodgy stuff.
Dev?
And Dev says, look, you need to give the money. We need to give the money back.
He's not saying, oh, look, give the money back. He's like, you're a scum of the earth.
Yeah.
You have to return the money. That's my money. £3,000 of it's my money.
Yeah. So this carries on past sunset.
Yeah.
They're just all standing there in the street for hours on end, it seems.
Creeps
but anyway, Bernie is begging the kids to tell the truth at this point. The police arrive and Fizz and Bernie are asked to come down the station. So Fizz comes back later. It seems to have all gone okay for her anyway. And she says, look, Hope, are you really, really sure that you're telling the truth here? And Hope says, absolutely, Mum. It was definitely Bernie. She's the one what hid us up in the attic, actually. And Evelyn says,
it was only Joseph.
Me, sorry, yeah. Evelyn says, oh, yes,
it was
Joseph. Sorry, yes, Joseph was the one that was hiding in the attic. And Evelyn says, oh, I wouldn't be surprised if Bernie ended up in prison. And she's trying to kind of make Hope open up, doesn't she? And it does work. So anyway, Bernie comes home later, released pending further investigations. She's not allowed to stay there, though. I know it does. No, sorry, I say it doesn't work.
She goes back.
I can't remember what.
She goes back to Gemma and Chesney's house,
yes.
and she's all sheepish and sad. And Chesney's there being horrible to her, and she says, "I'm just going to pick my stuff up." And it wasn't me. And Chesney's like, oh, sorry, I don't believe you.
Why would children lie, especially Hope?
And then Bernie says, actually, I think you'll find that Joseph never even said a word about it. It was all that weirdo little cousin.
Yes, that's
which
right.
I thought was brilliant because there are not enough adults on this show who have got a grudge against Hope, considering like how much havoc she's wrought upon their heads.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that Bernie's like not afraid to. I'm sure in real life she would have used a slightly different phrase than weirdo little cousin.
Chesney tells Bernie to sling a rook and you're never coming back to this house again.
Thanks for all the free babysitting and food money, though.
Yeah, how long is it going to take him to regret that decision?
How long is it going to take him to realise how much she was doing?
So Friday, Bernie's having a bit of a mope with Paul. Don't know if cafe I'm going to say that's usually where these kind of things happen. She says, Joseph is my only chance at the moment. We need to get him to admit what actually happened. So this is when we have the Beth scene, having a go at Dev in the cabin, saying, oh, you cooked this whole thing, this reward scam up with your not so fancy piece. How dare you? I put money into this fund. Then Evelyn jumps in to defend her and to defend him, accusing Beth of slander. And Beth leaves with a flea in her ear. But I've enjoyed Evelyn this week again. I think
yeah, but I think Beth was an important character here to let everybody know that that's what the general consensus on the street is, that Dev and Bernie were hatched it together to steal this reward money. Although why anybody would think that Dev would...
No.
That's the thing about like all these rumours and stuff, is that they're very rarely based on any...
It was unusual that we didn't see any of the Nazirs in today's episode. Because
they're going to be saying,
what are they going to try and... Yeah, who are they going to give all the money back?
This would not be as serious as it is, and the stakes would not be so high if Yasmin had not put £29,000 in.
Yeah, it'd just be a couple of thousand, and Dev would get his money back and it would all be sorted, yeah.
And it wouldn't, and nobody who would accuse Dev of being in cahoots with Bernie to steal half of £3,000 that he put in. It doesn't make any sense.
Clint's also been noticeably absent this week as well, hasn't he? Considering a lot of this is revolving around him. So Chesney and Gemma still arguing about Bernie. Paul's on his mum's side there as well. He's weighing in. Chesney says, look, I just cannot forgive her for trying to profit from our missing son situation. So later on, Bernie goes to the shop, though even tries to stop her seeing Dev. He says, no, it's fine, I will talk to her. He's trying to apologise to him, but he's like, no, I'm not accepting it. What you did was wrong. She says, look, I've given you part of the money back. This makes it all right with us, doesn't it? I've done the right thing. And he's like, no, you don't get this, and you're fired as well. So sling you're not allowed in here either. Back at number 5, Joseph stomps downstairs because Ches and Fizz have still been out arguing about Bernie, and Joseph knows that she's innocent and all that. So she's like, oh, it's not her fault. She didn't do anything. And he's able to... at that point, Chesney is able to get the truth out of him, and he says, he says it was Hope who tried to hide me in the attic.
Bernie had nothing
Fizz and
to do
Chesney,
with it.
Not to do with Bernie. Fizz still refuses to believe that her darling Hope, who has, is as honest as the day is long, governor, would be telling a lie about this. But Chesney does, and then
Chesney's like, this is absolutely on form.
I think in the end, doesn't Fizz come round to the idea grudgingly, because it's in the face of mounting evidence. So Bernie finds this out later. She's chuffed to bits because it means that her name has been cleared. But Gemma says, well, true, but you're still in Chesney's bad books because you were telling massive porkies about this whole thing, weren't you? And Bernie vows to make it up to Chesney because she really, really, really wants to be chums with Chesney. Who wouldn't?
To be beholden to this ghoul of a man and his ever-growing family of angry, yuppie mouths. Like, he looked like a blackbird's nest full of yawping beaks trying to steal spaghetti hoops off you.
Making a mess over the floor, so Chesney has to do some angry hoovering at the end of the episode, doesn't he?
Grr. I like the fact he picks this hoover up as if to say, I do housework too, you know.
Yeah, look at this.
Don't believe you.
Slapping around the wire.
Chesney, you got to plug it in.
Anyway, so that was that story.
But my question is, what happened to All Around the Milky Way? Did Joseph get to keep it?
Yeah, that's a good point. Or did he take it?
Because I've always wanted to play that game.
Well, if you go up to the local computer exchange shop, maybe you'll find Joseph's copy in there that you can get for a bargain price.
Maybe.
Anyway, so did you enjoy this one this week? I kind of thought it was okay.
I thought it was more interesting. Yeah, I kind of liked it. I felt bad for Bernie.
Yeah, I was
going to
say, what's your stance on Bernie?
Like, nobody sympathised with her at all, and everybody's taken her for granted. Like, why is she an indentured servant living at Chesney's whim? You know what I mean? Why didn't she just say to him, look, I love these kids and I wouldn't wish harm to any of them, and I love it, I've been more than happy to work my finger to the bone, but I'm not doing it anymore because you're an ungrateful sod.
Yeah, I have some sympathy for her, but I am also thinking you shouldn't have taken that money from Clint. You've kind of got yourself involved in it now.
At the end of the day, though, why would you have not? Because it's £16,000 and you could feed that family for years with that. How frugal they are.
I know, but I think just because, well, maybe the thought of being caught, and especially the fact that a lot of it came from Deb and everything.
But also, I said this before about the money. If they found Joseph without the reward money being used, being needed, where would it have gone?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows?
I think it's awful that nobody's. I don't know. Just find it really annoying to watch this family struggle, and it also seems to me that Gemma and Bernie are the only ones who are saying we're not coping here. We need help. We need money. We need something.
Chesney's still refusing.
Just like wrestling with a Hoover.
Yeah. In
the front room and shouting at Bernie. If it's down to morals and feeding your kids, it's perfectly clear where Chesney lies on this equation, and Bernie's the complete opposite.
Yeah, he where he would lie on the would you steal a loaf of bread to feed your starving family?
He'd go, no, and I'd happily watch them all starve to death while the bread goes mouldy on the side.
Yeah, I remember it. Anyway.
Well, I know that a few people have mentioned you know, part of the motivation here for Chesney is that he obviously had a hard time when he was a child. He social services was involved, and that's the thing, when you're in a kind of family situation like this, social services are very rarely seen internally within the family as the saviors of the situation. They're like the enemy that are going to come and split the family up. So when he's thinking social services, he's not thinking, oh good, they can help me. He's thinking, you know, I'm being invaded by this evil force who are going to rip my family to pieces. And he also doesn't want people to know that he can't provide for his family. And he's also probably got his nose put out of joint by the fact that Bernie thinks that she needs to steal, in his mind, this money to help provide for the family. Yeah. That's probably what's motivating him, but it doesn't make it any easier to watch him be so sanctimonious.
No. Just wanted to
shut up. You need to watch Les Mis.
Why?
Well, take a leaf out of Jean Valjean's book.
Oh yeah. I'm ready for this story to have a bit of a break now. I don't know whether there's one coming.
Where's this helper that was supposed to come from social services?
Yeah, that's a good point. Right, Lion in the Cougar story next then. Back over to you.
Well, Jenny is still trying to do her trick of doing the makeup before Leo wakes up, but she sneaks downstairs and he's already there trying to make her breakfast. And she's kind of caught out a little bit. So she tells Debbie about this, saying, I was all wrinkled and blotchy and pillow, whatever. And Debbie's like, you're nuts. You don't need to worry about it. And then she says to Leo, well, I'm really sorry that I looked a state this morning. And he's like, oh, no, you look really dead sexy, which is nice. Carla comes to the pub later and she says, Kate's been in contact with me and she's having money troubles because you haven't sent the money that Kate is owed from Johnny's will.
Everyone's just flipping whinging this week, aren't they?
Well, also, the only time you ever hear anything about Kate, it's, where's my dad's money?
Yeah,
where's my dad's money?
She's still doing it from halfway around the world.
The other spoilt child of the street, Sophie Webster. I hurt my wrist. Oh, I fell off a moped. Oh. You know, like the most annoying. Like they've been on a permanent gap year. The pair of them running around on their mum and dad's money.
Yeah,
haven't they?
Everyone else has been locked down since 2020, and they've been gallivanting off around the world.
Yeah, breathing on everybody probably. Jenny says, "Oh, I swear I'll send it to her as soon as I just get a minute." And Carla gets peed off and says, "You need to start thinking more about your family and less about this fella of yours." Then she comes back later, and Jenny's still in a snit with her, and she says, "I phoned Kate. I sent her the money. Everything's all right." And Carla says, "I apologise, but I'm worried a bit about this thing." With Leo, is it a bit inappropriate? Are you avoiding confronting your own feelings about Johnny and stuff? And Jenny does not want to hear this. And she says, keep your mouth shut. Let's not forget about you and Daniel and Adam and all that stuff. And Carla goes off, defeated. Later on, Leo returns to the pub and Jenny tells him what happened with Carla earlier. And perhaps they're going a bit fast. And he says, okay, I'll slow things down, but he doesn't look happy because who would be when they've got such hot stuff like Jenny waiting in bed for him
with a pint, with a bag of nuts.
On Wednesday, Jenny's all dolled up to go to see Leo play in the rugby, but she changes her mind. She says to Daisy she's decided not to because maybe Carla was right and she's not over Johnny yet, and she should end things with Leo. Daisy tries to get Jenny to change her mind, but then the phone rings and she thinks it's Leo, and Daisy's got the phone, and then she's like, "What's that?"
Yeah, she's going
fallen
to
down a well.
She's trying to drop Jenny's phone in a pint of beer, isn't she? At first, because Jenny's going to use it to phone up Leo and dump him.
But apparently, Leo's had an accident at rugby, and he's unconscious in the hospital. So Jenny's desperate. She's suddenly completely beside herself with worry about Leo, which obviously shows her depth of feelings for him, and she rushes off to the hospital to be told he's fine, he just needs some stitches. So she takes a seat and then realises, oh my god, there's a guy here from school.
I thought he was nice. What was his name? That was Teddy, wasn't it? Teddy. You commented on this earlier because there's a Ted and a Teddy.
Yeah, I don't know why. So she sees Teddy.
You reminded me of Phil a bit.
He was nice, wasn't he? He's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's Jenny bloody Bradley. I've bloody fancied the pants off you, you sexy cow. What are you doing later? Do you remember?
Oh, do you remember your mullet? Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, do you remember when your mum got run over by a car and then your dad got run over by a tram? Yeah.
Had any other family tragedy since then?
They talk about her flashing her pants on a school trip.
Oh yeah, she gets caught over the fence or something.
He tries to ask her out, and right as that happens, and she doesn't know what to say. Leo walks out, and they both stand up, and oh my God, she realizes this guy is Leo's dad.
I made that prediction. I said, didn't I? I said that Leo's dad would be somebody that knew Jenny. I was really pleased. Can
I just point out that he obviously doesn't care about rugby? Because Jenny went to go see Leo play rugby before, and Teddy
never been there.
wasn't there.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I
don't think I'd turn up to my 30-year-old son's rugby match every Saturday, would you?
No. I thought that Jenny's reaction when she found out as painfully obvious as it was, as soon as we saw this guy at the hospital, that's going to be Leo's dad, isn't it? The actual moment that Jenny finds out was quite a picture.
I really thought this was good because they could have made this tediously drawn out story about him getting mad, and then Jenny has to win his favour by inviting him to an awkward dinner at the Rovers, and then she makes a few faux pas, and then in the end he says, I don't care as long as you're happy, blah blah.
Yeah, he says,
they just went straight to, bloody hell, lad.
He's like, you give her one from me, son.
Yeah, whoa, you got the brothers. Well, if it's not me, son, I'm glad it's still in the family.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, she's feeling a bit cringy about this, but both Leo and Teddy think it's great. But then back at home, Jenny tells Leo she wants to have a word. And then she puts it off to later because she sees Carla lurking about, glaring at her. Leo says, I might move in with my dad because I'm trying to get a flatmate to come and move in with me, but the last guy came with his own snake and asked me if he could heat up his rats in the microwave. So I'm not really sure that's going to work out.
Oh yeah, defrost the rats, Gemma. They didn't need to be heated.
I think they do need to be a little.
Do they?
I don't know. I can't.
A bit warm, otherwise the snake's not interested. They go, oh, it's a bit cold.
I've never.
Brain freeze, snake brain freeze.
Anyway,
not a rat pop.
Jenny then sees Carla, and Carla says, "Look, I'm really sorry I said this. I'm still struggling over my dad's death. I can see how Leo makes you happy. Maybe you should make a go of it. Life's too short. You could end up down the sewers dead before you know it." Out in the back, Jenny says, "You know what? I realised I don't want to slow things down. Why don't you move in?"
What, a threesome with you and your dad, she's probably thinking. Doesn't
even ask Daisy, who seems to be happy, but also looking a bit pensive about something, which I think is just her non-existent love life.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where it was going, wasn't Daniel. It?
On Friday, it was going well between Jenny and Leo, but he gets called away from work emergency, probably another sinkhole.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was his job. Even though that's Leo, his sole purpose.
If you were Leo, would you go, yeah, I think I'll move in to the street where...
Yeah, the structural integrity of the street is not the best.
It must have been completely fixed then, because he wouldn't be seen dead there if there was a chance.
He could collapse in any... Even though he just really must love Jenny.
Maybe he likes living on the edge. maybe he's got suicidal tendencies. He's just hoping at any moment it might just end everything.
Why did they need redundancies anyway? Is it because they filled up all the sinkholes now and there's nothing for anyone to do?
Oh yeah, because he comes back and he said he's being made redundant. Maybe it's because he came and investigated the sinkhole.
Yeah.
And the next minute, man's dead and he's moving in with their widow. Does that seems a bit suspicious actually. I don't think I'd make him redundant. I think I'd investigate him.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
This looks so suspicious.
It's the Bernie Clint all over again.
So yeah. Ronnie says to Jenny that they're good together. He's lurking around, looking buff again. With his tea.
That's all he does at the moment,
lurks
isn't it?
Around. He's either drinking tea.
Ronnie hasn't done anything apart from looking buff for the past 12 months.
Lurking, drinking tea, or lurking, drinking rum.
Yeah.
So, back comes Leo. He says that you might have heard this previously in the street talk section, but I've been made redundant. Now I can't afford to pay rent. What? I'm going to have to move it back in with my dad. And Jenny says... You've written parents here.
I know. I thought I forgot that. I assume that Teddy isn't just trying to get Bradders as a bit on the side.
Hopefully not. So Jenny says, "Don't worry about it. Why don't you not worry about it while you're job hunting. And Daisy's like, huh. Then she shows Jenny a bunch of pictures of Gran Canaria and says, I could go there, but I have to pay rent. How come I can't have a rent holiday? And Jenny says, no bloody way. I'm not giving you one as well. It's a totally different situation. You haven't been made redundant because of your bad ability to spot imminent sinkholes appearing left, right and centre, even though that seems to be your only job. You keep your bloody mouth shut. Leo listens in, and then he says, he comes in and he says, look, I don't want to be a freeloader. I will get a loan from my dad.
Hooray.
It's like...
Anyway.
I also find it quite funny. I mean, I guess this is what happens when you're both kind of single and attached adults and you decide to move in with each other, is that one of you pays rent. But
I guess so.
I think it'd been nice to have a grace period of a week before you start getting out your calculator and telling me how much I owe you for a slice of bread.
Yeah. So what do you think about Carla's accusations this week then, that Jenny's still
I just thought somebody went, we haven't had Carla in it yet, what should we do?
You need to have somebody having a mope about something, having a bit of a whinge.
My dad's
Beth,
dead.
yeah, Carla, chuck them all in.
And then the next day she's like, I know he's dead, but I guess I got over it.
Yeah, I still just refuse to see Leo as a permanent character, so I'm kind of thinking that they are just eventually going to go down the route of Jenny, this just being part of a grieving process. But then on the other hand, I'm thinking she really does seem into him, doesn't she? I thought it was kind of sweet, but I think I'd have preferred her to go off with his dad instead. Maybe that's going to be the story. Maybe she's going to have an affair with Leo's dad. That's soap opera for you.
It just feels to me like there's a big gaping question mark over this. There needs to be a conversation which got completely brushed under the carpet when she started kind of crying about the fact that she can't give him a child. And then he said...
Oh yeah, that's not been mentioned since.
But I love you, I don't... but I love you. But he never said, I don't want children, or maybe we'll adopt, or don't worry, I'm sure I'll move on from you before I run out of sperm.
Yeah, no, nothing's happened there. That's because she's going to be pregnant, clearly, isn't it?
Yeah, he speculated that first, I don't know, but...
I think it was just a general internet theory.
Wouldn't it be interesting?
Could be, but I don't really care for Leo that much. I don't think that he's that charismatic a guy.
But he does a rugby.
I know. I thought it was odd that Leo didn't realise that Jenny was the same age as his dad. I know that he obviously knew that she was older than him. Maybe she didn't tell him exactly how old she was, but I think there's such thing as an age gap, but actually going out with somebody who could well have been in the same year as your father at school, surely that's going to make you think, nah, I don't think so.
I know, but the thing is, though, to me, like, the majority of adults are in three categories. There's the ones that are younger than me, the ones that are older than me, and the ones that I think might be around the same age as me. And if you're older than me, as long as you're not, like, 80... I've got no clue how old you.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know how old you are. I wouldn't even guess.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
maybe just like she's just older than me.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, she is so youthful looking, of course, isn't she?
I don't know how.
She's certainly looking more well looked after than his dad. He was looking a bit grizzled.
Well, you've got to look after yourself if you're a woman.
Worn away by the ravages of time.
Weatherfield.
Yeah. I didn't mind this story. I kind of, whenever this came up, I was like, oh, fine. It makes a change from the stupidity of Craig and his crutch and miserable Chesney.
What is Leo going to get a job as now? I presume he's
Potman.
Got kind of some qualification involved in seismic activity.
He's a geologist, is he?
I don't know. He must. Is he like a civil engineer or something? I thought he was really smart, but then he starts playing rugby and getting knocked out. He's losing brain cells left, right, and centre.
No, I wonder whether he's going to go Potman for a bit and he go down the hole as the cellar instead.
And falls down and knocks himself out again.
Yeah, probably. Okay, what else we got? Oh, speaking of Craig and his crutch, let's talk about this then.
Speaking of losing brain cells.
Yeah. So I can't even bring myself to talk about this. So Craig, as we remember last week, sent the crutch off to the forensics lab so we could find out who it is, so he could win £20 from Tyrone. And Faye's telling Emma at the beginning of Monday's episode that they need to intercept Craig's email so that when he gets told about it via email, and then nobody's going to mention it ever again, they'll be able to get in there first and stop it. So Emma's like, oh, Craig, can I borrow your tablet to do a bit of internet shopping? And he's like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. But later on, Craig's getting a phone call from his forensic friend. Oh, there are other ways, Gemma, that you can be contacted by your work colleagues. But that's not what he's being contacted about. He's being told some pretty naughty news. Well, news about how he was naughty. He needs to go off to the station to get a good dressing down from his senior officers about wasting police time. Good. Well done, Craig. You should get in trouble for this. You pillock.
At the beginning of the episode, at the beginning of the week, he is being told off for having questionable professional integrity.
Yeah, what's he doing by the end of the week?
He's crying.
Covering up a murder.
Who is it? Faye?
Yeah.
He's literally in tears to Faye, saying, you don't understand what this job means to me and how important it is to not be a bent copper. Like, cast your mind back. Just 5 days, Craig.
He is massively... It's been kind of a running joke since Craig became a policeman, isn't it? How ineffective he is. And this just shows it this week, twice in 1 week. He's just completely incapable of doing his job in a professional manner. He needs to be strung up, by his ankles and flown like a flag outside the police station.
Is that what they do to them?
Yeah, he'd be able to now he's lost that weight. He'd just be fluttering there.
Flapping in the wind.
Yeah. So Craig's off to work on Wednesday. Oh no, sorry, I missed out. No, I don't know. He gets a dressing down, doesn't he? Yeah, he's lucky just to have a job. So Emma and Faye kind of grinning themselves at the end of Monday because they're think
great friends.
This is all over. But so he goes off to work on Wednesday. You've got to give Tyrone his £20 first, though.
Because he had
lost the bet
that he couldn't find out who the crutch belonged to.
Yeah, and he didn't.
Because apparently the lead, which seemed more promising, which was the person who was in charge of the list of patients, went, no, I can't give you a list of patients who haven't brought their crutches back because that goes against all of my moral principles at my job.
We're not all massive blabbermouths. Some of us take our profession seriously, Craig. Maybe you should learn from me. So no, he goes off to work. So Faye's left alone with Emma, and it transpires that they have released Ted's body. Are you going to get it on vinyl or cassette?
I'm getting a digital download with limited mini disc.
So they released the body, and so it sounds like the investigation's winding down now. We could be in the clear, but no, the storyline that will not die, unlike Ted, Craig comes back home later.
Lasted longer than Ted did.
Yeah, that's very true. He comes home later, and it looks like from Ted's body that his injuries suggest that he was knocked down, and maybe that's what caused the blood clot that killed him.
Well, he says it's probably that.
Yes, may well be. I mean, it's not going to be, is it?
I don't know why you said this.
I have no way going to believe that they're going to have Faye or Emma end up as a murderer.
I don't agree. I think that it's quite possible that that's going to... Because they didn't actually...
Are they throwing these characters under the bus then? Certainly not Emma.
It's not just an accident. It was all an accident.
Yeah, but they... I don't like it. It's an accident, but they didn't do anything about it. They're trying to, prevent the course of justice, la la la.
I know it's all contrived, and it's a bit silly. But of all the silly contrived soap storylines where things spiral continuously out of control, this is the one that I actually buy the most. Because it feels like Faye and Emma together are like the worst combination of two people who don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
You've got Faye who's devious but not very smart, and you've got Emma who's just super trusting and will go along with anything anyone says, and then spend the rest of the time completely undermining everything because she's got a sudden bout of conscience.
Yeah, I don't think I'd pick either of them to be involved in my heist that I was planning on the bank of Weatherfield.
No.
So anyway, we'll see what happens.
I'm really interested to know what will happen with Imran in this.
Yes, I know. They're mentioning him, aren't they?
They brought him up
the fact that he knows... Well, that was on Friday. Let's wait until we get there anyway. So Faye's terrified at this point.
Yeah.
Let me finish Wednesday. So she's going back to jail. She knows it. What about her? That fake nail down the sink as well? Because you haven't forgotten about that. And Emma says, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. But she doesn't look convinced. Right, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I guess I just can empathise with this crushing terror of doing something that you think, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, yeah,
and just
definitely.
being haunted by a stupid mistake and thinking,
we've all done that.
I can't believe I've done this. How am I going to get out of
Luckily,
this?
when most of us do that, it doesn't involve somebody dying and then you covering up
and leaving a fingernail in somebody's drain hole.
Yeah. Or people rehearsing Pirates of Penzance in the street tangentially as well. Usually that doesn't happen.
I haven't seen it happen recently.
So today's episode, then on Friday, we hear about Faye's upcoming appeal hearing. So this is going to be on Monday's episode, I assume, to find out whether she gets to stay out of prison. And Craig has to reassure her because she's getting a bit worried. But when he goes, Emma talks about going to Ted's funeral again. So this is happening today. Emma really wants to go along to pay her last respects for him. And Faye says, look, we are really pushing our luck with this whole silly storyline already. I don't think that's wise, Emma. Sorry, love. But Emma just can't help herself. She's reading Ted's eulogy in the paper. Tyrone comes in, wittering about glass eyes in the gloves box or something. This is something that really gets my goat about Coronation Street sometimes. Characters telling stories about funny things that happened to them today that actually would never happen in real life. I mean, Mary's the classic one for that, isn't she? It's like, really, Tyrone, did you find 3 glass eyes in your glove box? Really? Anyway, eventually he notices that Emma's looking upset, and she says, oh, one of my old clients has died and it's his funeral today. And Tyrone's like, oh, now that reminds me of somebody that I knew that died. And he kind of plays this massive sob story about the fact there was nobody at their funeral, and obviously this has just been put in there to make Emma feel totally guilty about potentially missing Ted's funeral and convincing her to go. So meanwhile, So we find out later on that Emma has gone to the funeral because Michael saw her going there. He tells Faye this, and Emma's like, crikey, what am I going to do?
Faye says crikey.
Faye says crikey, as those exact, I quote, and we're going to get caught. So Emma kind of...
No, go to Craig.
Huh?
Craig sees Faye in the cafe.
Yeah.
And says, oh gosh, they found out who... Oh no, they're going to get the delivery guy, and he's going to do an e-fit of the person that was seen at the flat.
Yes, this e-fit. This one that looked identical to Emma, apparently. Yeah,
Let me show you this. And he shows you this picture that literally could be anybody. And
well,
says,
he starts off saying this alien has beamed down onto the planet. Oh, that's a bit harsh on Ali Mardell. But when they pull it out of the shows it on his phone, it's like, that doesn't look like Emma at all. It's not even a full face, is it? It's like the hair, the eyes, the nose.
It's wearing the face is wearing a baseball cap, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But no, you don't see her chin, which is ironic later, because Emma, when she's trying to hide her identity from Ted's grandson, all she does is pull the scarf up to her chin. So everything that was in the photo was still right on display. Yeah,
what was the most distinctive bit of that picture? It's the eyes. So she's like, I'll cover everything but my eyes. But I thought this put everybody in a bit of an awkward situation here. I don't know who came up with this concept for the plot, but you can't draw a caricature of Emma and have everybody remark about how it looks a bit like her.
It looked nothing like her. Craig's like, oh, it looks like an alien. Hang on a minute, it looks like Emma. And I was like,
that's rude.
It doesn't look like either. But anyway, it's enough to put the willies up Faye, obviously. So we see Emma steal herself going into the church.
Comical how little it looked like anybody.
Yeah, basically. But it's enough to make Craig break down, and she's like, I can't take it anymore. That is Emma. She was at Ted's flat. And Craig says, what is it? So it was Emma who killed Ted? And she's like, no, I did. So dramatic. And Faye's kind of gabbling on. It's all her fault. She's the one who made Emma keep quiet about it. And Craig is like, doesn't know what to do. He's like, you need to tell me everything. We thought maybe because, he's a good police officer and he's just trying to get the full story, but no, of course not. Meanwhile, we have Emma at the funeral. Ted's grandson is there. future boyfriend alert? Are we thinking about this guy?
Well, whenever I'm at a funeral, I do exactly what he did, which is to find somebody and go, oh God, I'm glad you're here. My granddad's funeral is full of old crinkly bastards who are about to pop their clogs.
Yeah.
At least you could be my friend. Why don't we talk to each other about my granddad and how guilty I feel about the fact he wasn't here? And one thing he said to me before he dies is that he hopes he gets to eat one last ginger nut, and that he's really sad that he's very slow at crossing the road, and he hopes he never inconveniences anybody.
Speaking of the ginger nuts, I think that's what Craig is most concerned about when Faye's telling them the story about what happened. He's like, "What? You're a ginger murderer? What the hell?" She's kind of telling him. Basically, the more she tells him about this story, the worse it gets, and the deeper the hole that she's digging for herself. There you go. There's something for Leo to investigate, Gemma. She's
she's just like, he's asking, how do you know her, and how did you know him, and she's like, oh.
Yeah, but she tells a bit of the story where she hit him, and that's bad enough, and then goes back to the flat, and then she reveals that they went back later and found the dead body, so they knew more about it.
No, hang on. You're talking about. I'm talking about. I'm talking about Emma and the grandson. You're talking about Faye and Craig.
We're not listening to it.
I don't like listening to you.
Right. So anyway, Craig finds out all about this. Meanwhile, Emma gets a text from Faye with this picture from the Gazette website, the e-fit of herself, and it says, "Police seek mystery woman after OAP death, weatherfieldgazette.co.uk. This is on the Gazette website. Get out of there now and delete this message."
They'll never find out.
Faye learnt all the tricks from her spell inside. Delete your messages, you'll be fine. They can't trace you. So Emma desperately starts trying to hide her face with her scarf, and this guy's still going on about it, how about tragic this whole situation is, and I'm so sad that my granddad's popped his clogs and everything, and we wanted to be cremated, but then my dad said that they wanted him buried just in case the police need to dig him up again for evidence, and Emma's blubbering away there, and this guy's there's just kind of touched
you really sad about my granddad.
Yeah, because I can't. What did she say about how she knows him? Just like as a neighbour or something. I can't remember. It doesn't matter, does it? So Faye is digging away. She says, "Oh yeah, just one more thing.
It gets worse.
Just one more thing. Emma was maybe a little bit drunk when I hit this guy in the car."
And Craig's like, "Don't worry, as long as nobody knows."
Imran knows.
We told Imran.
Yeah.
Craig at this point is crying, and I thought he got his reaction was too intense too quickly, because he should have saved his tears for later on, because it just got worse and worse and worse. But he started crying immediately as soon as he heard this. Maybe just mad because of all that time he wasted on the crutch.
I think he's mad.
Because can I just say, she never went, he's the guy who had the crutch. He still doesn't know this, Craig.
No, I know.
He's going to be mad about that. He's going to want that 20 quid back.
What Craig is most worried about is that he's the guy with the loosest lips in the whole of the street, and now he's being told to keep a secret. And if he does blab as per, as form...
as he got form for, yeah.
He's gonna get his girlfriend in trouble for it, and no more nookie for him.
Yep.
So what's he gonna do? Gonna have a sit on a bench? That's what. And David finds him there and says, "Oh, you're looking sad, Craig. Yeah, Faye's dad's in hospital, isn't he? That's a bit rubbish."
One thing that Faye said, which is a good point, and I can't remember if she's lying or not, which is basically, it was Ted who said, "Don't tell anybody. I don't want you to call the police or have anyone fuss over me, because I don't want to go into a home, and I don't want people to think I can't cope for myself. And it was my fault because I shouldn't have walked into the road in front of your car."
Yeah.
And so she's kind of like saying, "Oh, and Ted wouldn't want us to get in trouble. It wasn't really our fault." Because really, at the end of the day, it was an accident. And whether or not Emma was drunk or not, I don't know, but she couldn't have stopped Faye from hitting him.
No.
Because she doesn't have dual control over the car, and she can't access the brakes.
No, the guy just came
out of nowhere. And he came out
of
nowhere, and if she had been driving and she was fully sober, she probably still would have hit him. And Ted didn't want to phone an ambulance, and so he would have died anyway. And who knows whether or not, if the ambulance was called, he would have died, So...
Just all the deception afterwards,
It's all the deception, and now they've pulled Craig in.
Although, yeah, Craig's managed to convince himself that it's not so bad, really, because at the end of the episode, he comes in and announces that for once he is not going to blab to all and sundry about this. He's going to keep their secret, although he is rather mad about it.
Well, this is what he says to Emma and Faye.
Yes.
Because Emma gets home and finds out that Faye's said this.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that Craig was sitting on a bench, but this is when David finds him. And
yeah, no, I said that. I mentioned that.
But I don't really know how that conversation ended, but it did.
Well, it's mostly just, I thought it was just Craig saying, "Oh yeah, it sucks that Faye's dad's in hospital, isn't it?" Oh, that's what it is, really. And it's kind of making Craig see, Faye's already going through the ringer at the moment. Good job, nothing else is going to come and make things worse for her, hey, Craig. And that's what makes Craig decide to go against his Elysian oath. Yeah. So that was that.
Maybe he'll
story,
shut
really.
up about that bloody crutch now.
I think he's given up on the crutch now, although it's probably going to come winging its way back.
I don't think that anyone's going to bring it up again, which is annoying because I would have liked to have seen him when he finds out that all this time he's been banging on about this crutch. It's been the crutch that was owned by Ted.
They better say something about it, because I've invested a lot of time in this crutch in the last week. Maybe we'll have to see. So what do you reckon's going to happen? I mean, Faye's got a hearing on Monday. I'm assuming that she's going to be let out, do you think? She's going to be told she doesn't need to go back in the clink?
I don't think she's going to get told she has to go back in. But I just don't know where this is going to go. I think Craig's going to end up messing up at work or something.
Craig is utterly Teflon. Didn't he get a little bit in trouble over the racism thing last year about... I can't remember how that ended up.
He was a pariah because he dobbed his friend in. Well, not his friend, but...
Okay, so he's in trouble already a little bit about... He's not in trouble. No, he's in trouble about the crutch thing for wasting police time there. And I think, really, if they were to launch an investigation into PC Tinker, he'd be out that door, wouldn't he?
I think he's going to have a bout of conscience and he's going to mess up at work because he can't stop thinking about how terrible it is, and he's going to blurt something out or he's going to do something and then he's going to get fired. And then he's going to mope around.
I hope so. I hope he gets
watching old episodes of Columbo.
Police officer. Anyway, I quite liked, I have to say, the twist when it came up about the bruising maybe pointing in the direction of this car accident being the thing that killed I just think
it's obvious the car accident that killed him.
It could have been something else, couldn't it?
Well, it's a bit late to find that out now, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
But I think that Emma's going to get close to this grandson, and then she's going to confess to him, and then he's going to say, "Oh, it's what he would have wanted." And
he would have wanted hit by a car after being chasing after a packet of ginger nuts.
He always wanted me to have a girlfriend who was a bit on the lam.
It really, really does look like Emma and this other chap are going to get together. But then that adds kind of a bit of long-termedness to this story, and I don't think it's really got the what it takes to keep going much further. It's only like 4 weeks old and
I'm
everything.
I'm not that invested in this being a long-term, I
mean, it's no Yasmin and Jeff, is it? It's no Ollie's got mitochondrial disease, and it's certainly no Seb and Nina a hate crime attack. It's just a bit silly. And like I think we said at the time, the fact that they are making it a bit comedic in parts just makes it difficult to invest in, because it just makes people doing silly things and making jokes about it. What's going to go on with this nail? Do you think that they're going to go and try and recover it?
Well, maybe if she makes friends with the grandson, he'll be like, "I need to go and clear my granddad's stuff out of the flat."
Yeah, of course.
And then he'll go, "Oh, I'm just going to take this to the car." And then she'll go, "Oh, I've nearly got it out of the thing." And then she'll hold it aloft. And then he'll come in and go, "What's that?
That's it,
Where
Gemma.
did you get it from?"
And
then there'll be a cliffhanger. And then the next episode, she'll go, "Oh, it just fell off my hand." And he'll go, "But the rest of your fingers don't have nails on it." And she'll go, "Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm so stupid.
I must have lost the other 9 down there as well.
They've gone.
What am I like?" Right, Gemma, Daniel, Lydia, Daisy, go.
On Monday, Lydia sees Asha and Amy and tells them how much she supports their protest.
Oh yeah, because this is the end of the skirt and the issue story, isn't it? Which didn't go anywhere. That was literally a 1 or 2 week story about upskirting. Sold that, everybody. Let's get back to...
Well, at the end of last week, Mrs. Crawshaw said, let's do consent workshops, right?
Yeah.
And then on Monday, this is when Lydia's like, well done, everybody, you're great. And Amy says, oh, remember that thing about the love poems and you writing and Mr. Osborne and Summer and everything? And Lydia's like, what are you talking about? So she asks a bit more about this when she meets up with Daniel, and he tells her all about the accusation. And Lydia's like, I don't know why you didn't tell me about this. And she gets her nose put out of joint. So she goes to the pub and Sarah's there. And Lydia's saying, I'm thinking about ending things, about all this stuff I didn't know about. And Sarah says, well, his love life has been a bit of a car crash. Daisy's listening in and says, actually, he is a good man and there was nothing going on between him and Summer, which looks a bit defensive. So Lydia clops round to Daniel's flat and says, you know what? You're a lucky bloke, you are, because I was talking about you earlier and Sarah and Daisy were both standing up for you. And she's kind of suspicious about why Daisy is so defensive. But she also says, I agree with them. You are a good man and I'm going to stay.
Yes.
So on Wednesday, Daniel's looking for Lydia at the factory, but she's at the chiropodist.
I wrote down this, Gemma. This is very important. She's
With
at the chiropodist with Finn, yeah. We got to remember that's going to come back.
Now, does Adam have any reasons to be going to the chiropodist? Is this inherited?
It's covered in corns.
Sarah digs for more information about how the relationship is going, and she says that Daisy's been singing his praises to Lydia, but then the phone rings and it's Peter or something. So Daniel goes to the pub, sees how Daisy's doing. She says, oh, I missed you. Then Lydia walks in, and she says, oh, as a friend. And Lydia's very suspicious again, drags Daniel back to the flat again. Daniel and Daisy give each other a look. Back at the flat, Lydia is making small talk. She's asking him how come he's not going out with Daisy anymore.
Yeah, she likes how nothing still hold the torch for you,
etc. And he just kind of keeps giving these wistful looks, and so does Daisy, at separate points during the week. On Friday, Daniel tells Max that he was expecting to see him at the consent workshop, and Max says, it's nothing to do with me. I didn't have anything to do with upskirting. I don't know why should I go to a consent thing. I didn't do anything wrong. So Daniel has his lunch in Victoria Gardens, and Daisy finds him, and he's saying, well, so I don't know what the point of having these consent classes are, because only the kids that go to it are the ones that already know what they're supposed to do, not the ones that are naughty and need actual consent classes.
Well, I kind of thought that Mrs. Crawshaw was making them mandatory.
They should be mandatory, otherwise they're absolutely useless.
Well, they were able to put them together quite quickly, weren't they, as well? When was it? It was Friday, she said we're going to have consent classes.
Anyway.
A week later, because teachers have got plenty of time for just
it's easy,
putting together whole courses. Yeah.
No means no.
That's it.
Daisy says, look, why don't I help you with my power of social media? Why don't we do a TikTok? That will help the children learn not to touch one another or take photos without permission.
Well, it worked when Summer put the Instagram post about her school the other week.
Yeah, fight back. Fight fire with fire. After school, Lydia says to Daniel, oh, I've got some tickets for us to go to a poetry slam in town. And Daniel says, oh, sorry, I've got to go do some...
What is a poetry slam?
I think it's just when people angrily make up poems at each other, which is understandable because poetry's rubbish, and I would be angry if I was forced to do it. It's just people politically talking in rhymes.
Okay.
It's not even good poetry. It's like not limericks or anything. Every so often I just sit by myself and I think about poetry and how much I hate it.
Really hated poetry, didn't you? Did whatever you could to avoid it in your English degree.
I nearly didn't get my qualification because I didn't do enough poetry units, because I was like, why? Anyway, he's like, oh no, I can't go to this poetry thing because it's boring. No, I can't go to it because I've got a social media thing with Daisy. Don't worry, I don't fancy her or anything. Later on, they've sorted out the consent thing. They've done loads of TikToks and
everyone wants to go to it now.
Everyone's like, brilliant, tell me more.
About why you shouldn't put your cameras out your girls' skirts.
Exactly. He says that he's in her debt. Then Daniel tells David, he sees David and Max when he basically says, "Oi, how come you weren't at this class?" And Max is like, "Oh, I don't have to go." And David says, "Actually, Max, you do have to go. I promise you, Daniel, he will be there at the next meeting." And Max is trying to get out of it. And he said, "Oh, I'm not a perv." And David says, "I don't care. You're going whether you like it or not."
So this is kind of linked to David's rape, isn't it, a few years ago? And that's probably why he's quite mad about it and insistent that Max goes, because David is like saying, this is sexual assault.
Yeah. This is all going to come out, I'm sure, in some heartfelt scene when it makes everyone feel awkward.
Yes, because Max doesn't know, does he?
No, I don't think so. Later on, Lydia comes in to the pub and Daisy and Daniel are still having a giggle. And she says, "We're supposed to be going to this poetry slam. Are you going to come or not?" And he goes and they both still have a lingering glance.
Yeah. So,
and Daisy's laughing because who goes to poetry slams? But mind you, I think she likes the poetry slam about as much as Daniel would have liked going to the influencers party.
Yeah. So
I'm not really sure I buy Lydia being into poetry.
Well, she was reading that book that he liked the other week, didn't she? So we know that she's...
What book?
No, she was. Do you remember? She was reading a book in the bistro, and he comes over and's like, "Oh, I've read that book. It's great."
I read book.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I mean, it just seems like this is a little stopgap before Daniel and Daisy inevitably reunite, doesn't it? I just wanted to get on with it at this point, really.
Well, I'm sorry to all poetry fans. I'm sure poetry is fantastic.
Okay. So, as I suspected, that was quite a quick street talk this week. It kind of feels like not very much substantial happened this week.
I mean, am glad because I am sick and tired of some of the heavier discussions that we have sometimes, which makes me feel like I'm ranting into a void about things that are not really necessarily my place to talk about. I don't
think we'd said anything that's going to get us in trouble this week.
There's no big discussion here. There's no issues-based storyline, really. I mean, the preservation of hobnobs is an important one, but I think we all agree that you shouldn't run over old men and leave them to die in a flat.
I think you're right.
Hoover. I mean, you should hoover up before the man dies if you're going to do it at all.
So, I mean, out of all those stories, I don't know which one I would say interested me the most. A lot of them had silly elements to it, and obviously there was Sally having a wee.
Ridiculous.
And this isn't the first time that we've had a go at Ian McLeod for his wee fetish. Seems to be.
What are you saying?
Well, that's
a bit harsh.
Well, they had the big pile of poo. They had Tiny the horse having a wee. They had as well. I'm sure there's been more.
I don't. You make it sound like we're regularly talking about it.
Once or twice we've mentioned. I can't remember. I'm sure we've pointed out before.
I think you're being
too much wee in Coronation
unnecessarily
Street.
harsh here because I think
humour.
Bodily functions are a well-worn part of British humour.
The joke is, though, of course, that nobody in soap operas ever goes to the toilet.
They do if it's in a jug or in a garden.
Then we had the Bernie story, which was okay, but I mean, the fact that it was linked with Chesney and Gemma just made it a bit like to me, and I'm still not absolutely loving Bernie. She's fine.
I love Bernie.
The Jenny story was okay, but it felt very kind of B story-ish, didn't it? And I don't really like Leo.
One thing I want to say about the Bernie thing was that it did feel at the end of the week, Bernie was like, "Oh, good, this part of my story's over, everything's back to normal again," and it didn't feel like that was justified at all by the fact that everything has gone completely wrong. And also, what are the police going to say? I mean, if they dragged Sally out from the hospital by her dying husband's bedside,
what are they going to do to Bernie?
What are they going to do to her? Also, what are they going to do to Joseph? Because there's no doubt in my mind that he did a wee up in the attic.
Do you reckon?
Absolutely no doubt in my mind.
So we had that story. We had the Jenny story, which my scene of the week this week by far was Jenny realising who that guy is, and when Leo comes out of the hospital. There was the Craig story and there was the Daniel one, which was kind of fairly nothingness. So I don't think that I can give this any more than 2 first editions Shakespeare's for 10p in a charity shop out of
I
5.
like the fact that Daisy thought that was remotely possible to find. I didn't find it as bad as you. I thought
I didn't think it was bad. I just think it was very kind of rare. It was like not particularly exciting.
I was outraged at the audacity of Coronation Street to expect me to buy any of what happened with Sally this week. I don't like having my intelligence insulted, and I don't like having characters act completely contrary to very well established personality types that we've
just
this
for
has
drama
been for
or
years.
lols.
This has been for years and years and years. Sally has been the same, and there's no way. There's no way that she would do that. And there's no way that most middle-aged women would do a wee in a park round the corner from their own house. I just want to keep reminding everybody this, round the corner from her own. It's not a simple matter to do a wee if you're a lady and you're wearing trousers, which I assume that she was because she normally wears trousers. You have to balance and everything, and when you're a bit drunk, I think you'd rather just sit on the porcelain throne and do it, wouldn't you?
I think so. Any characters of the week? Oh no! Oh, sorry, you haven't scored it, have you? Go on.
I'm going to give it 3 bionic hips.
Ah, nice. Okay.
So I think 3 is a pretty good.
Is this Blanche's Polish hip? Do you think that
I think we need to have
the street?
A versus between the two. I think I'd rather
the bionic hip and the Polish hip. Yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad. I found some people very irritating this week, but I think that we're supposed to. I think you're supposed to hate Chesney. I think you're supposed to think, oh gosh, Emma and Faye, you pair of nutters. You know, it's supposed to. Sometimes Coronation Street entertains and hooks you in by irritating the hell out of you, and that's what the tactic was this week. And I'm going to give my character of the week to Bernie.
I thought you would. I mean, I think we're supposed to have a lot of sympathy for Bernie.
I don't know. I'm starting to feel guilty about how sympathetic I am towards Bernie because am I just a scallywag at heart? Because I don't know how much she did that evil and wrong. It is a lot of money.
Accepting money that she didn't believe was should have been coming her way, but it was to feed us.
It's a victimless crime.
Her poor family. Okay, I'm not going to give it to Bernie just because I'm not.
I know you said it before.
Bernie.
You don't need to keep going on.
Sorry. I'm going to give it to. I think it's going to be old Bradders again, actually.
Bradders, okay.
Nicker Flasher Bradley.
Yeah, bless her.
I am
She's
as much as I don't particularly. I'm not thrilled by the character of Leo. I am very happy to see her happy.
You know what?
I just prefer that she was happy with Johnny.
I think you need to give Ian McLeod a compliment sandwich because you've been very rude.
You want me to say something else good?
Say something else good. I like Jenny Bradley. You're too obsessed with we, and
oh gosh, I'm really struggling this week. I'm glad that it looks like Daniel and Daisy are on the cusp of going back out with each other again.
That's not a compliment, but okay.
It's just fine. It's fine. I've had a busy week. I'm tired, so
yes,
I'm just having a bit of a moan.
Hard week this week.